They told him to leave the store, because he didn't look like he belonged. They had no idea. They were speaking to the man who owned the entire company. Terrence Blakemore didn't look like someone who owned anything on that block, at least not to the people working inside. Devlin and Royce, the luxury jewelry boutique on Grant Street, in Palo Alto, California. It was early afternoon, a Wednesday. Sunlight filtered through the large windows, bouncing off diamonds that sat behind bulletproof glass. The store smelled like expensive perfume and polished wood. Every case was spotless. Every bracelet, watch, and necklace was positioned to perfection. It was the kind of place where silence was part of the brand. Terrence stepped in wearing joggers, a black hoodie, and well-worn running shoes. His hoodie was slightly damp around the collar, sweat still drying from the quick workout. He squeezed in before his next meeting. He kept his head down at first, scanning the displays, hands in his pockets. No one greeted him behind the counter. 2 sales associates, one middle-aged man in a navy suit, and a younger woman, with a tight bun and tablet in hand, looked right through him. The man shifted his eyes from Terrence to the door. After 30 seconds of standing near the platinum watch case, Terrence glanced up, caught the woman's eye, and gave a slight nod. Nothing. He moved to the left, closer to the high-end ring display. Finally, the man walked over, slow, cautious. His smile forced. "Can I help you with something?" he asked, already sounding tired. Terrence smiled politely, "Just looking for now. Thinking about picking something up for a client." The man tilted his head slightly. "We usually work by appointment." Terrence gave a slight chuckle. "Didn't realize I needed a reservation to spend money." The man didn't laugh. "We try to maintain a certain atmosphere," he said. "If you're not ready to purchase, we ask that guests avoid handling the merchandise." Terrence raised an eyebrow. "I didn't ask to touch anything." The man gave a small shrug. "Still, this isn't a browsing store." There was no anger in Terrence's face. No embarrassment either. He just looked at the man for a few seconds, then glanced around the room again. Cool, quiet, composed. From the back, the young woman whispered something to the man. Terrence caught her tone, nervous, urgent. The man cleared his throat. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." Terrence's eyes stayed on him for a moment longer. "You sure about that?" he asked. His voice even. "I am," the man replied, crossing his arms. Terrence exhaled once through his nose. "All right." He turned slowly, walked back out the glass doors, and let them close behind him. No shouting, no scene, just silence. He stepped outside into the California light, reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. One tap, then another. "Yeah," he said into the speaker. "Tell Warren to meet me at the store. Don't bring the car around yet. Give me 20. He ended the call and leaned against the parking meter, just outside the shop for a second. His face fell blank, not angry, not hurt, just tired. This wasn't the first time something like this had happened, but this time was different, because he wasn't just a black man being denied entry to a luxury store. He was the owner of it. But that wasn't the part that would sting the most. For them or for him. Warren showed up 12 minutes later, walking fast, blazer flapping behind him, Bluetooth still in his ear. He paused when he saw Terrence, leaning casually against the meter, sipping a green juice he'd grabbed from the corner store. "While waiting, they really did it, huh?" Warren asked, blinking in disbelief. Terrence nodded once, whole thing from top to bottom. "Did they ask your name?" "Nope." "Did you tell them who you were?" Terrence gave him a look. "You think I should have?" Warren shook his head. "Not your job to teach grown folks how to treat people." Terrence didn't respond right away. He tossed the empty juice bottle into a recycling bin nearby and straightened up. "Let's go," he said. They walked side by side across the sidewalk and back through the glass doors of Devlin and Royce. This time, the motion sensors triggered a soft chime. The air inside was cooler now. Or maybe it just felt that way. The same 2 employees were still there, mid-conversation, laughing about something. That faded quickly when they saw Terrence walk back in. This time with a man in slacks and a sport coat. and a small silver pin on his lapel. Warren carried himself like someone used to, giving orders even when silent. "Can I help you?" the younger woman began. Warren cut in. "You're Jennifer Wright." She blinked yes. "And you must be Mr. Coyle." The man looked confused. "Yeah, that's me. I'm Warren Tate, Director of Operations for Blake Morenco." Jennifer's mouth opened slightly. Mr. Coyle froze. Terrence stepped forward. "I'm Terrence Blakemore," he said calmly. "You work for me." Mr. Coyle's eyes flicked from Terrence to Warren. Then back again. His posture shrank by the second. Terrence didn't raise his voice. Didn't even look angry. "I own this location," he said, "and the brand above the door." Jennifer looked down at the tablet. She was still holding "We didn't know." Terrence interrupted her gently. "No, you didn't. And that's kind of the problem." Coyle opened his mouth to say something but stopped. "You assumed I didn't belong here." Terrence continued. "You didn't ask questions. You just made a decision. I thought." Coyle started. "You thought I looked like someone who didn't have money to spend," Terrence said. "And even if I didn't, this store isn't built on deciding who looks rich enough to be treated with respect." Warren leaned against the display case. "We'll be holding a full review of staff interactions across all stores next quarter. Starting today." Coyle looked pale. "I didn't mean to offend you, did?" Terrence said. "You just didn't expect consequences." The room went quiet. Jennifer stood stiff behind the counter, lips pressed tight. Terrence looked around at the walls. The glass, the merchandise. His merchandise. "It's funny," he said. "I spent most of my life working so I could walk into places like this and not get followed. I finally bought one, and I still couldn't make it past the second case." Warren gave a low sigh. "You want to talk in the back?" Terrence shook his head. "No. Let's keep it right here. I want them to hear this." He turned back to Coyle. "You judged me on the wrong scale," he said, "and the truth is, I don't care about your apology. I care that this happens every day to people who don't have the platform to push back." He let the words hang for a moment. But Terrence wasn't done. Not yet. He had more to say, and they were going to hear every word. Terrence didn't ask anyone to sit down. He didn't need a conference table or a prepared statement. The jewelry sparkled behind the glass, but the air had shifted. No one was browsing. The door stayed shut. Even the security guard had stepped a little closer, uncertain whether he should speak or just observe. Jennifer's hands were clasped tightly behind her back. Mr. Coyle looked like he wanted to disappear. Terrence took 2 steps toward the counter. "Let me tell you a little about myself." He didn't say it with pride. He said it the way someone might open a drawer and show you a photo from the past. "I grew up in East Oakland. My mom worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3. I didn't get my first real suit until I was 26. Even then, it was secondhand. And I had to teach myself how to tie a tie, using a mirror and a YouTube video." Jennifer blinked. Her fingers twitched. Terrence glanced at her. "You ever been followed in a store just because of what you're wearing?" She didn't respond. He looked at Coyle. "You ever walk into a room and know before you speak that your voice won't carry the same weight as the guy standing next to you?" Coyle shook his head once, almost ashamed. Dim. Terrence continued. "What happened today isn't about me being upset because I wasn't recognized. I don't need that. I came in here today not as a test, but just to feel the energy. That's all. And you showed me everything I needed to know." Warren remained silent, arms folded, eyes on every reaction. This was Terrence's moment, and he knew how to let him work. "You judged me the moment I walked in that door," Terrence said, "not based on my tone, not based on my intent, but based on the cut of my hoodie." Jennifer opened her mouth to speak, but again he stopped her with a small wave of his hand. "I'm not angry," he said, "but I am disappointed because I bet if I came in here wearing a Rolex and a tailored jacket, you would have offered me champagne." The security guard, a young guy named Felipe, who'd kept his distance so far, stepped forward slightly. "Mr. Blakemore, I just want to say I'm sorry, sir. I didn't know either." Terrence nodded. "I appreciate that, Felipe. And I mean it, but this isn't just about who knows what. It's about what people assume when they don't know." Coyle glanced nervously at Warren. "What happens now?" Terrence didn't answer right away. He looked down at a ring case, filled with platinum bands. Then back up now, he said slowly. Now you listen. Coyle swallowed. You listen to the fact that luxury doesn't have a face. Wealth doesn't walk in looking one way. And respect doesn't start at a price point. Jennifer's eyes began to water just slightly. She looked like she'd seen her reflection and didn't recognize it. This brand, my brand, was built on the backs of people who were overlooked. Terrence said people who had vision but no invitation. People who had taste but no access. He stepped closer. Devlin and Royce was known for exclusivity. That's why I bought it, not to keep it exclusive, but to open it up, to remind people that quality has nothing to do with who you expect to walk through the door. The silence in the room was heavy now. Not awkward, just full. But Terrence wasn't finished building his message. The next part would go even deeper, and it wouldn't be easy for them to hear. Terrence didn't move. He stood there, still in his hoodie and joggers, owning the room in a way that didn't need approval. This wasn't about power, this was about presence. Everyone felt it. We're going to talk about what happens next, he said, but not just about this store. Not just today. He turned to Warren. Let's bring them in. Warren stepped outside and motioned toward the sidewalk. A few moments later, 2 more people entered. One was Sasha Lamont, Terrence's head of client experience. The other was Ronald Sturgis, a quiet but sharp regional trainer who'd helped build the retail culture for Blake, Moore & Cohn across 6 cities. Jennifer's eyes darted between them. Mr. Coyle cleared his throat but didn't say a word. Sasha gave a soft smile. We're not here to punish anyone. We're here to show you something. Terrence nodded, because what happened today isn't rare. And it's not just you, it's how this industry was built. I've had high net worth clients tell me they've had to bring assistants just to be treated with respect. You think that's right? No one answered. Ronell stepped forward. We train on product. We train on language. But too many of us never got trained on people. On judgment, on unconscious decisions that feel small but carry weight. Coyle looked at the ground. I thought I was being careful. Terrence didn't scold him. You were being selective. You were protecting a space you assumed needed protecting. But what you really did was close the door on someone who built it. Sasha handed Jennifer a small stack of cards. These are real stories from real clients, anonymous. But every one of them came from a Blake, Moore or Devlin store. Read the top one. Jennifer's voice shook slightly as she read aloud. Walked in with my teenage son. No one spoke to us until a white customer entered. Suddenly 3 people asked if they could help her. We left, never went back. She paused, swallowed. I'm sorry, she said quietly. Terrence stepped in. You know what's tough? That customer probably didn't say anything. They didn't argue, they just took their wallet elsewhere. And that hurts more than words. He turned to Coyle. You've been with the company 7 years, right? Almost 8. You're a good salesman. That's why you're here, but selling jewelry isn't about judging who looks like money. It's about making every person feel like they belong. Here, that's how you build loyalty. The room was still. The sound of a delivery truck passed outside. But no one looked. Jennifer blinked back, another tear. I didn't think I was that person. You're not the only one, Terrence replied. But you were that person today. And now you've got a choice. You can be better or you can be comfortable. Ronell stepped up again. Starting tomorrow, all sales staff will go through a new human-first training program. Not sensitivity, not a checklist. We're going to talk, we're going to listen. And it's going to be uncomfortable sometimes. But that's the only way this changes. Mr. Coyle looked at Terrence. Do I still have a job? Terrence looked back at him with no expression. That depends on whether you're here to protect a commission or serve people. But even in this confrontation, Terrence wasn't trying to break them. He was trying to break the cycle. And the most important part was still coming. Terrence didn't rush the moment. He looked around the showroom one more time. The floors gleamed, the lights were cool, toned and sharp. Everything in the store said precision. And yet, what had just happened couldn't be fixed with polish. This isn't about one awkward moment. He said, this isn't even about one bad call. He stepped back, arms relaxed at his sides. Let me tell you about a friend of mine. He's worth 8 figures, owns a tech firm in Phoenix. Drove his old, beat-up Jeep to a luxury dealership just last month. They didn't even let him pass the welcome mat. Terrence shook his head, half smiling at the absurdity. You know what he did? He walked out. Went 2 miles down the road. Bought 2 cars, paid in full. Left a tip so big the saleswoman cried. Ronell gave a small grunt. Happens all the time. It does. Terrence said, and that's the thing. You never know who's walking in. But more importantly, you never know what they're carrying. Some people walk in with cash. Others walk in with pride. Some walk in trying to forget what they just went through that morning. And all they want is to feel human. Not sized up, not ignored. Jennifer stood straighter now. Not defensive anymore, just listening. I don't need the store to be trendy. Terrence continued, I need it to be honest. People are tired of walking into rooms where the temperature changes as soon as they enter. He looked around again. It's not always loud. It's not always hostile. Sometimes it's just silence. A hesitation. A glance. Warren chimed in for the first time since re-entering. We've got data from over 200 clients across 14 stores. Same pattern, same feedback. Too many people of color. Women and younger customers. Saying they feel like they have to prove something before anyone makes eye contact. Mr. Coyle rubbed his eyes. We're trying to protect the brand. Terrence interrupted, calm but firm. And what do you think is the brand? Mr. Coyle, a logo. A name. He paused. No, the brand is how people feel when they walk through that door. That's the whole thing. He turned slightly, motioning toward the wall, where the company's mission statement hung in a brushed silver frame. Look at that luxury. For every story you see that. Jennifer nodded slowly. Terrence looked back at her. Do you believe it? I want to. She said, I didn't realize I drifted from it. We all drift, he replied. What matters is whether we steer back. Sasha pulled a tablet from her bag and tapped the screen. We're launching a company-wide listening session. Next month, anonymous stories, in-person conversations, and real accountability. This isn't just for corporate. It's for everyone. If you've ever made someone feel small in this space, now's the time to unlearn it. Terrence looked thoughtful. I've been silent before in other places. I've let things slide. Told myself it wasn't the time to speak up. But when it happens in your own house. He shook his head. You don't stay quiet anymore. Ronald nodded. Once we don't fix this with a memo. We fix it one room at a time. Terrence gave a short laugh. Not out of humor but clarity. When I bought Devlin and Royce, people told me I was crazy. Said the culture was too old school. Too stiff, that I'd never be able to shift it. He looked Mr. Coyle dead in the eye. Watch me. But changing a culture isn't about a single speech. It's about what comes next. And Terrence had one last move to make. Before walking out that door. Terrence didn't stay long after that. The point had been made, and more importantly, it had been heard. But before he left, he turned to Sasha. We'll need follow UPS here. Weekly check-ins for the next month. I want every team member to speak to what they've learned, not what they've memorized. Sasha nodded, already on it. Jennifer looked unsure whether to speak. But something in her shifted. She took a step forward, not rushed. Not rehearsed. Mr. Blakemore, she said, voice soft but steady. I know I messed up. I don't have an excuse. I just want you to know I want to be part of the change. Not out of guilt, but because I saw myself today. And I didn't like what I saw. Terrence didn't smile. But he met her eyes with a kind of recognition. The way a teacher might look at a student who finally connected the dots. You'll get that chance, he replied. But growth isn't quiet, it's uncomfortable. If you're ready for that, then I am too. Coyle stayed silent. He looked rattled. Not by fear of losing his job, but by the weight of what had been revealed. He'd been doing this for years, treating people like risk assessments instead of individuals. And now it had caught up with him. Warren looked over Mr. Coyle. A decision will be made within the week. In T. Meantime, you're on leave with pay. But that time isn't for rest. It's for reflection. You're going to write up your version of today. Everything. You thought, everything you did, and what it taught you. If we believe it's honest. You'll be back if not. We'll move on. Coyle nodded quietly. No defense, no anger. Just a man who'd been forced to look at himself through a different lens. Terrence turned to the security guard. Felipe, right? Yes, sir. I appreciated what you said earlier. That matters. Keep speaking up. Even when it's not your job. Felipe looked surprised. I will, sir. Thank you. As Terrence walked toward the door, he paused beside the case, where he'd been standing earlier. Right before being told to leave, he tapped the glass lightly. That one, he said. Sasha stepped closer. The platinum chronograph. Yeah, Terrence said. Add it to the company training collection. Not for sale, not for display. Just something to remind people where this all started. Sasha smiled, symbolic. No, he said, real. They walked out into the California afternoon. This time no one watched him go like a stranger. No one wondered if he belonged. He didn't say much on the way back to the office. Just sat in the back seat of the company SUV, scrolling through emails, occasionally looking out the window. Warren finally broke the silence. You okay? Terrence nodded. Yeah. Warren waited a second. You think they'll change? Terrence took a moment. Some will. Some won't, but that store's not the same anymore. That moment, what happened in there. Nobody forgets that. They pulled into the parking garage under the Blake Morin Company headquarters. The elevator doors closed. Terrence looked at his reflection in the metal paneling. I used to think the goal was to be recognized, he said, but now I think the goal is to be respected. Even when you're invisible. But before the story ended, Terrence wanted to make sure the lesson didn't just stay inside four walls. He wanted to say something to the people watching. The ones who've been through it too. There are some moments in life you don't plan for, but they stick with you, not because of how loud they are, but because of what they reveal. For Terrence Blakemore, that afternoon inside his own store wasn't about ego. It wasn't even about the insult. It was about the quiet truth so many people live with, being judged before you've even opened your mouth. Later that evening, Terrence sat alone in his office. The sun was down and most of the building had emptied. He had the lights low, the city humming quietly outside the window. He scrolled through old notes, design drafts from the early days, when he was just sketching logos on napkins. Between shifts he remembered all of it. The way security used to tail him at department stores. The job interviews, where they looked shocked when he walked in. The silent elevator rides where no one made eye contact. That moment in the jewelry store was just another brick in the wall. He'd been climbing for decades, but he didn't hold hate, he held memory. He clicked open a message on his screen. A client testimonial from a mother in Scottsdale. She'd walked into one of the boutiques, wearing leggings and flip-flops. She wrote, "No one looked twice at me except one young man, who asked how my day was going and if I needed help. I told him I wasn't shopping, just waiting for my daughter. He smiled and said I was still welcome. I cried in the car on the way home, because I'm not used to being treated like that." That's what it was about, not turning tables. Not getting even, but setting a new standard. Because people don't remember every product. They remember how you made them feel. And if how someone looks still decides how they're treated, then there's still work to do. Terrence leaned back in his chair, arms crossed over his chest. You know, he said out loud to no one, some folks think success means you stop hearing the noise. But really, it just means you're finally in a place to answer it. He sat quietly for a minute, then added, and I don't plan on staying quiet. This story isn't just about Terrence. It's about all the people who've walked into rooms where their worth was measured before they even spoke. It's about every moment someone felt small because of someone else's narrow view. So here's the truth, plain and simple. Respect should never come with conditions. It shouldn't depend on your shoes, your jacket, your skin, your silence. You deserve to be seen for who you are, not for what someone expects you to be. And if you've ever been dismissed, overlooked, talked over, don't let that shape you. Let it sharpen you, let it push you to build the space they wouldn't give you. Just like Terrence did, we all play a part in this. Whether you're behind the counter, or standing on the other side of it. So next time someone walks into your life, your store, your office, pause, check yourself, then ask, am I seeing this person? Or am I just seeing what I expect? That question might just change everything. If the story made you feel something, share it. Someone out there needs to hear it. And if you haven't already, subscribe. These are the stories that don't always make headlines, but they make a difference.